Hey there, fellow readers, Mrs. Weidman here, and today we're going to be talking about the new Alan Gratz book, 2 Degrees. And if you're a fan of Alan Gratz and his many published works, or if you just like stories that are action-packed and never really have a dull moment, then 2 Degrees would be a great next read for you. So in traditional Alan Gratz fashion, 2 Degrees actually has multiple protagonists, right? And in this particular book, there's actually three main voices that you're hearing from. And the first voice is actually that of Akira, and Akira is a young girl and she is living in the Sierra Nevadas, which is out in California. And one day her and her dad are actually out riding their horses to their favorite grove of sequoia trees. And then this really terrible, devastating wildfire actually breaks out around them. And Akira and her father find themselves in the middle of these flames trying to outrun the fire and escape the forest before it goes up in smoke. The second two characters you meet are two boys, and they're a hoot. They're just chock full of jokes and middle school boy humor, and it's awesome. And their names are Owen and George, and Owen and George live way up north, right, in Canada, in this tiny little town called Churchill, but they love it. And that's because Owen's family actually owns this tundra buggy business, where it's his job to take tourists out on the ice every day, right, and kind of hope to spot polar bears and tell them all about polar bears and the sea ice and all these other cool things, right, that you don't usually see down south. Well, unfortunately for Owen and George, polar bear season is lasting longer and longer, which means not only are there polar bears out on the ice, but they're also roaming in the woods around town, and sometimes they're even going in to Churchill, right, trying to find something to eat before the sea ice reforms. And that leads us to our last character, which is a girl, and her name is Natalie. And Natalie lives in Miami, Florida. And I didn't know this before reading the book, but apparently it's been a very long time since a hurricane has directly hit Miami, Florida. They've been kind of lucky. But in this particular book, Natalie is not so fortunate, right? And when she's watching the news one day, her favorite weather reporter, Maria Martinez, says, "I'm calling it, folks, Hurricane Reuben. It's going to strike Miami directly, and it's going to be a terrible situation." And unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. So Natalie, who lives in Miami, is now forced to contend with the direct onslaught of this massive hurricane, right, that has just ripped through the city of Miami. In the end of the book, 2 Degrees is a very fitting title, not only because it addresses climate change in the world today, but the 2 degrees of which these kids are connected is also just a fantastic way to tie the story together. So again, if you love Alan Gratz, 2 Degrees would be a great next book for you. See y'all online soon.